Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden and welcome to Zone 8 of my Show Me Your Garden series. So I am loving this series so far. This series, I asked all of you to submit photos and videos of your gardens. Let me know what zones you're in. And then all I did is I took your videos and I grouped them with your other zone neighbors, zone buddies. And the goal of this was just to inspire those of us in those zones with other gardens, with photos and videos of gardens. And I've said it once, this is like the 8th time saying it, I am getting so much inspiration from everyone else's garden, not just in my zone, zone 3, zone 4, everyone else. So it's been a really, really fun series for me, and I know a lot of you are liking it as well. So this week, it's kind of funny, like, what interesting timing. There is quite a lot of news in the gardening world based on zones, regarding zones. So the USDA zone map has been updated for the first time since 2012. So the USDA zone map, they update it about once every 10 years, and they're just making sure that they keep up with the changes in the environment. And then also there's new stations that are keeping records of weather. So they're just updating and making sure that everybody has their correct zone. So the USDA zone map goes by zip code. So I will leave a link in the description down below where you can put your zip code in. They say about half of the country, half of the United States has increased 1/2 zone. So say you were in zone 6B, now you might be a zone 7A. If you were a zone 7A, you might be a zone 7B. So check and see if you have increased. Not everyone has. I'm still zone 9B. I kind of assumed that because I'm kind of smack in the middle of zone 9B. But if you're kind of on the border, they said the Midwest was definitely affected a lot. Go ahead and check. Now, I do want to say, don't worry, you've been gardening in that zone for the past couple years. It's just the map that's getting updated. So if you have noticed that a certain plant was doing really well in your garden, that's totally normal. It's just the map that is updating the information. And that, you know, it is because our climate is warming a little bit, and so they're reflecting that. But then also there are new weather stations that are getting more data, and so they're reflecting that as well. So really interesting, but I just thought that what perfect timing, because if your zone changed, if you're now one zone up, don't fret. I have a video for you that you can look at and you can get some good inspiration. So let me know in the comment section down below if your zone did change or if your zone stayed the same. Like I said, mine stayed the same. I know Erin, the impatient gardener, hers went up. I think Bethany, who I just featured in yesterday's video, I think her zone went up. Don't quote me on that. And then I think a couple other people we know and watch on YouTube and Instagram, their zones went up. So it's just really, really interesting to see the changes and then kind of what that means. Like, I just think that it's going to open our eyes to being able to plant more plants in our zone, right? And I think that this is a good reminder that the zones aren't perfect. They're not very specific. It's 10 years that it takes to update the zones. So play with it, you know, push the zones. You might be happily surprised that you can actually plant a plant that's rated one zone higher than yours, because maybe your climate is getting a little bit warmer. So anyway, I just wanted to say that, pretty interesting. Again, I will link it down below and you can check and see if your zone changed. Okay, so zone 8, I have so many fantastic gardens to show you. I got so many good submissions, you guys. I was going through and I was just checking out everybody's garden, and I loved it so much, and I had to cull it down. I had to only pick some of them, because again, otherwise this video would be way, way, way too long. So I got some really, really good ones to show you. I'm so excited. Let's get started. So first zone 8 garden I have to show you all is Trudy's garden. Trudy gardens in West Lynn, Oregon, which is the coastal side of Oregon. It's zone 8B, and Trudy, when I saw this video, I made a little note, show this first. I knew I wanted to show your garden first because it's so beautiful. This video is actually from May of 2020. Trudy says that her garden club had planned to do a garden tour at that time, but because of COVID, they had to cancel it. So instead, they decided to make lemonade out of lemons, and they decided to do a virtual garden tour. So this is Trudy's virtual garden tour from May of 2020. And I am so happy that you got video of this, Trudy, because your garden, oh my goodness, it was beautiful at the time. I would love to see it at other times of the year as well, but oh my goodness. So she says ferns, foxgloves, maples, camellias, rhododendron, and so many more things thrive in her garden. She says she's very lucky to live in the Pacific Northwest because they have so many options and they have a reasonably long growing season. So let me start the video. There's no talking over it, so I'll talk over it, but it's just, I just have to show it to you all. All right, so this is Trudy's garden. Look at her foxgloves. I mean, they're so beautiful. I'm pausing it right here because I need to bring your attention to that beautiful white shrub on the bottom left. I mean, I don't even have to point it out. We can see it. It's gorgeous. I think it's a rhododendron. Don't quote me on that. I'm not very good with those because I don't grow a lot of rhododendrons and azaleas. But Trudy, let us know in the comments section because I want that plant in my garden. I am willing to baby it. I'm willing to amend my soil. I want that plant in my garden. It is so beautiful, especially next to that fern and the foxgloves. It's just the most beautiful thing. Okay, so I just had to point that out because I'm obsessed. I've already researched it and done, done an article search on them. They're so pretty. All right, so Trudy says the biggest challenge that she faces in her garden are deer and moles. She says it's a constant problem. She says her tip, oh gosh, look at the peonies. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's just so beautiful. I just love this garden. Her tip that she would give other Zone 8 gardeners in the Pacific Northwest is to get out the sluggo early and often. She says, like so many people, the Garden Answer Narrow Garden video is where I discovered your channel, my channel. So thank you for watching that. She says she lives on the west side of Oregon, so her garden is quite different from Laura and Aaron's Oregon garden, and there are not many YouTube gardeners in my zone. I love this idea of videos for each zone. It's brilliant. Thank you, Janie. You're doing a wonderful service with your informative videos. I love your passion. It comes through in your videos. Oh, thank you, Trudy. Your passion comes through in your garden. Man, it is so very beautiful. And I can see that you have some carnivorous plants in pots and a little pond with some koi. Oh my goodness, I want to live here. It's just so pretty. I know it was hard, in COVID and having to cancel all the events and everything, but how lucky is it that you have this video of your garden when it was looking so very beautiful. And I'm sure 3.5 years later, I'm sure it's even better. So Trudy, your garden is spectacular. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. All right, next Zone 8 gardener is another kind of wet one, not kind of wet, it's very wet. We're heading across the pond to Langdon Hills, Essex, England. And we're going to see Janette. She has a YouTube channel that I've watched for years now. And her YouTube channel is called The Enthusiastic Gardener. I am so happy that Janette, that you went out and you took videos of your garden throughout the year, because now we get to watch a compilation of, starting from January all the way through the year, how beautiful your garden is. So let's watch.
Hello Janie, it's Janette here from the Enthusiastic Gardener channel over in the southeast coast of England, county of Essex, where we are the equivalent to your US hardiness zone 8. Thank you so much for inviting us all to send in photos or videos of our gardens over here to share with you on the zone 8 section. What I've been doing, fortunately, that I can show you, is I decided every single month, on the last day of every month, I would do a very quick garden tour, and so I could see the changes throughout the year. So I've been doing that since December 2022, and so I'm going to show you little snippets of that, which I hope you enjoy. Starting in December, and we had a week of snow in December, which is very unusual for us. We may have snow here and there, but it never lasts, and it lasted for a whole week. And myself and a lot of gardeners over here, we lost a lot of plants because of that. It's made a lot of us over here have to rethink our gardens. The summers have been so hot the last few years. The plants have struggled, and then we lost a lot of plants in the winter. So we're having to reconsider the plants that we put in our gardens. I'm sure you all know Monty Don from Gardener's World. We all love and adore Monty Don. We hang on to his every word, watch him every Friday. Unfortunately, it's ended now until March, Gardener's World. But he said very interestingly last week that no garden is everything to a person. Every garden is different, and every garden is its own microclimate. So as much as we love and admire other people's gardens and what they have, we have to stick with what our garden can handle. And I think as you go through the years of gardening, you realise, I can't have this beautiful plant, it's never going to survive. So we have to adapt, that's what we have to do. And we learn that because we plant things, they die. I kill lots of things, believe you me, a lot of beautiful things die. But every time it creates a gap, and a gap is one of my most favourite things in the garden because it's a planting opportunity for something different. You have to be resilient in the garden. I am the equivalent of a US hardiness zone 8, although we don't use those zones over here in England. I'm on the southeast coast of Essex, which is about 30 miles from the City of London in one direction, and then in the opposite direction I'm 30 miles from Southend-on-Sea, the seaside coast. And the hardiness zones for us more equate to a US hardiness zone 8 in the winter time, because we have quite mild winters here apart from the week of snow last year. We can do things like keep our dahlias in, possibly, fingers crossed, and plants will come back quite easily normally. But for the summer, we don't get the hot weather of the hardiness zone 8, such as you may do over in America. So it's not that hot usually, and we get a lot of rain. Rains all the time in England. It's been a very, very good gardening year. We still have lots of gardening jobs to do to tidy up, waiting for the leaves to fall. I still have new tulips and some more daffodil bulbs to plant, which I haven't done that yet. I like to tidy up all my garden as much as possible this side of Christmas rather than wait for spring. I hope you've enjoyed seeing my garden, Janie. So I have a channel called The Enthusiastic Gardener, and I post every Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, Janie. Have a good week. Bye, everyone.
Isn't her garden gorgeous? It's so beautiful, and I love that we can see it all throughout the season. I love watching Janette's channel because of her garden, but then she also takes us on trips to different plant stores, nurseries around England, you know, kind of where she lives. And so I just think it's so much fun. It's like a field trip that I get to go to a plant store in England with her. So it's a really, really fun channel to watch. So I definitely wanted to share her with you all if you don't already watch her. One thing, Janette, let me pull up the screenshot. Where did you get these trellises? Because they are so pretty. They look like they're made out of willow branches. Did you make them yourself? I mean, please let us know. Please let us know. So thank you so much. I will put Janette, the Enthusiastic Gardener's details, her link to her YouTube channel in the description down below. So next Zone 8 garden, we are gonna go down south to Louisiana to Jacob's garden. He gardens in Zone 8B, Alexandria, Louisiana. So if you all can tell, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to grab gardens from different climates in the same zone. So we started with Trudy over in Western Oregon, then we went to Janette over in England, and now we're going down south to Jacob's garden. And Jacob's garden, since he plants in the traditional deep south, he says tropicals are key. He says traditional southern plants such as crepe myrtles, camellias, azaleas, and gardenias thrive in his zones. Palms, citrus, tropical hibiscus, jasmine, and gingers love my climate. Plants typically recommended for Zone 8+ will sometimes freeze back in winter. However, they quickly regrow, and recover the following spring. So he says he wishes he could plant. He has lots of family in Illinois and Missouri and envy the smoke bush and lilacs. He says they don't thrive here. Peonies are a definite no. On the flip side, true tropicals such as mangoes and coconuts are too tropical for my area, and they will freeze and they will not return. He says the biggest challenge that he faces in his Louisiana garden is extreme weather. For example, this year we are over 30 inches behind on rain. Oh my goodness, and have had over 40 days over 100 degrees this summer. Some years we get over 65 inches of rain, and flooding is a major problem. An old home flooded twice in the 10 years we lived there. Tornadoes and hurricanes are also big concerns. Oh my goodness, 30 inches behind on rain? Oh no, that's not good. Okay, so one piece of advice that he would give to other gardeners in his zone/area is he said, play around with plants in microclimates. He said he's tried many plants recommended for zones higher than his, and they will survive their winters since our ground doesn't freeze. Some microclimates like courtyards and south-facing walls will give your zone a boost up. Try new plants. Recently, he tried grevillea, a plant he had never heard of before, and they are thriving. Grevillea is big here in zone 9B, a little bit drier, so I'm surprised it's doing well in Louisiana, but it's a beautiful plant. I need to get some in my garden. So let me show you all Jacob's garden. So you can see many of the pictures that Jacob sent in of his garden are quite tropical, which I just thought was so interesting contrasted with other zone 8 gardens. So zones, they just don't tell us the whole story. You really have to understand where you're gardening. You can see he's got some hibiscus. Then in this picture, he's got some birds of paradise, which is absolutely beautiful. You can tell it is thriving in his garden. Here is some vinca that I am in love with, absolutely beautiful. And then, I mean, aren't these houseplants? Like, I don't know the name of them, but I'm pretty sure those are houseplants. They're beautiful, and that looks like ginger right there. Really, really pretty. And then finally, what is that? Is that a princess plant? Is that a princess plant, Jacob? Let us know. It looks like a princess plant. It's beautiful. So, so pretty. So anyway, I had to include Jacob's garden because I just thought it was so interesting, the difference between his zone 8 and someone like Trudy's zone 8. So Jacob, thank you so much for submitting. Your garden is beautiful. And I love that you're kind of accepting your limitations and working within it because it just makes gardening fun to see, you know, to really thrive in your garden's climate. Next garden, we're heading over to Texas, to Keller, Texas, which is the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. This is zone 8A, and our gardener's name is Kevy. And Kevy actually has an Instagram account called Garden of Shrubs that I know and love and follow and get a ton of inspiration from. So Kevy, when she talked about which plants thrive in her garden, she says she likes plants that are capable of extreme heat for months on end with minimal rain. And so when I read that, I thought that was so interesting because, again, it's that juxtaposition from all the other zone 8 gardens that I've been showing you all. There is a wide range, and the zones don't give the whole story. So she says plants such as abelia, hollies, rose of Sharon, butterfly bushes, ornamental grasses, perennials, crepe myrtles, and yuccas do really, really well in her Texas garden. She says, of course, Texas natives do best. And the advice that she wanted to give you all is that if you're struggling to keep things alive, try going with Texas natives first, the ones that are appropriate to North Texas. She says, once you're successful with these, then you can start branching out and mastering how to keep things alive that may need more water, better drainage, and or like acidic amendments. And Kevy, I think that is great advice. We all need to start slow. You know, if a gardener in my zone was to start with something like a hydrangea, they would just fail, right? Because you have to get your feet wet and you have to understand your soil and your climate and all that kind of stuff before you try the plants that maybe need a little bit more attention. So her advice, starting with Texas natives first, I think is fantastic advice. I think that's kind of the same thing like if you're new to houseplants. starting with a golden pothos first, which is one of the easiest houseplants and the hardest to kill, is probably the way to go so that you can get used to growing houseplants and seeing how they do with the light and the water and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was fantastic advice. Let's start the video that Kevy sent in. Kevy sent in a video that is from this time right now. And she said it was a little windy, so she didn't talk much during the video. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and get some pictures from her Instagram and show what the garden looked like more in full bloom, like earlier in the season basically, because her garden is beautiful. Isn't it beautiful? So first off, Kevy, your house, oh my goodness, that's a beautiful house. But your garden and your plant choices are so interesting. Just like Jacob in Louisiana, you have chosen plants that really go well with your climate and look like they belong in a Texas garden. And it's really, really beautiful. And I just love that even at this time of year, those grasses, they've all dried and they're all blowing in the wind. And it's just a beautiful garden. So thank you so much for sharing it with us. I will put Kevy's Instagram link down below. Make sure you follow her because she's really inspiring. Next Zone 8 garden is Kim's garden. Kim gardens in Charlotte, North Carolina, and she says her garden is Zone 8, but on the border of Zone 7B. But Kim, I wonder if that has changed now with the new USDA zone map. Let us know, because I know you sent this in before the announcement. Kim does have a YouTube channel called Backyard Blooms with Kim. I'll link it down below. She says that plants that thrive in her Charlotte, North Carolina garden are hollies, boxwoods, panicle hydrangea, David Austin roses, coneflowers, nepeta, and most perennials. She says hardy geranium is one of my favorites, such as Roxanne, Proven Winners, Pugster, Butterfly Bush does well, Camellias do great. She says the hardest challenge that she faces in her garden is the hard clay and heat of summer. And if she could give one piece of advice for other gardeners, it would be to learn how to plant in hard clay. Don't let the soil scare you off. Also, adding drip and mulch is just as important as amending the soil. So just wait till you see this. It's beautiful. Look at that. It's so pretty, Kim. This is gorgeous. You can see her hydrangeas are absolutely beautiful. I think is that the hardy geranium down there? It's kind of hard to see. But then the statues in your garden are just really, really beautiful. Then we have a little doggo here that is just the cutest thing in the world and obviously enjoying the view. Where do you get your pots and your statues from, Kim, because they're beautiful. They're absolutely stunning in your garden. Look at this rose here. That is incredible, and it looks like the happiest rose ever. And then this is the picture I wanted to show you all. Look at this combination of annuals she has here. I can see sweet potato vine, I can see gomphrena, I can see some petunias. That looks like Supertunia persimmon, Supertunia mini vista yellow. I have a fly that is bugging me. Country living annoyances. Anyway, Kim, this is a beautiful, beautiful combination of plants. It completely caught my eye and it was gorgeous. And then again, look at this. I mean, look at this. Look at how pretty. And I love the color of your house, by the way. That is a beautiful, beautiful color. You can see she's got cone flowers here, more of the panicle hydrangeas, and then more hostas. And it is just gorgeous. You have a beautiful, beautiful garden. And I can't believe you have hard clay soil because it doesn't look like it. It's really, really stunning. So thank you, Kim, for sending these in. Your garden is beautiful. Make sure you check out her YouTube channel. I will link it down below. Next Zone 8 garden, I had to include my friend Pamela from Flower Patch Farmhouse. She lives only about 2 hours away from me. So I live in the valley of Central California. I am Zone 9B, and pretty much me all the way over to the coast is Zone 9B. But then once you go a little bit east and you start going up the hills, the mountains, then we start going down in zones. So she is Zone 8A. She lives in Arnold, California, and she has an amazing YouTube channel and a fantastic blog. You all have to check out her blog. It has so much great information. She's great. I love her. And it's not just because she's my friend. She's actually really, really good. So she says plants that thrive in her Zone 8A garden are daisies, rudbeckia, delphiniums, iris, larkspur, old roses, petunias, echinacea, clematis, and more. She says the biggest challenge she faces is her shorter growing season. And I can definitely, I understand that because she'll tell me about it and she'll say, my dahlias aren't even blooming yet, or, my hibiscus doesn't even bloom until the end of the season, and it's really, really interesting to see the difference between her garden and my garden, and we actually live so close. So her advice that she would give other Zone 8 gardeners, she said, don't be afraid to experiment and remember that your zones do not determine your growing season. So there's something to think about. She is Zone 8, but because of where she lives, she has an extremely short growing zone as compare that to Trudy, who lives up in the Pacific Northwest. And it's just kind of night and day. So I think that that's the theme of this Zone 8 video is that, yeah, you're all Zone 8, but everything is very different. So let me play Pamela's video for you all right now.
Hey garden friends, welcome to Flower Patch. My name is Pam and I garden in Zone 8A in the mountains of Northern California. And though I am a Zone 8, I have a very short growing season. Our first frost is mid-October. Our last frost is the end of May. And also we contend with heavy, wet snows that can cause a lot of damage. So I have to customize my gardening techniques, when I prune, the things I do when, because of those issues. Just a week or so ago, I posted a video giving perspective of where my gardens are in relation to my house. It was a request from many of my viewers, and it gives you an idea of where things are located. I have 3 garden areas, basic 3. There's my front, which I have my entrance garden in, and that's where I have my beautiful Eden rose and clematis growing over an arbor. Then you come around to the side of my house. I'm on a corner lot, and I have my rose cottage garden, which I've also called Rose Alley because I have 3 arbors with climbing and rambler roses on it over a pathway, and it's just going to be filled with roses, even more roses next spring. I hope they all come through, but I'm focusing on roses there because it seems to be a spot where they thrive in my garden on my lot. So then we go around to the back. The back is my secret cottage garden where I have a centerpiece that I have for the past few years done petunias in. I grow wave petunias from seed because they do very well for me, And I love the process of watching them start from seeds and go all the way to a beautiful plant. And they seem to, for me, do that fairly quickly enough that I get color all summer long. And every year I choose a different color. And I do love that process. So what other flowers do well for me? Most cottage flowers, what are considered standard or typical cottage gardening flowers. Daisies, rudbeckia, larkspur, delphiniums. Of course, I've already mentioned the roses and the clematis. But zinnias, they get a late start. I have to start them earlier now. But cosmos, there's just the ones you typically think of with like I said, a cottage garden. And what I love about them is they will reseed and fill in by themselves, and I just edit out what I don't want. And then it just is inexpensive. It's fairly easily. They'll fill in so thick that weeds have a tough time getting going. Hardy geraniums also do very, very well for me. And I'm starting to put in a few boxwoods for winter interest, evergreen, because they have proven to me that they do well here. I've tried a couple hollies and they didn't overwinter. Well, last year, I know it was a tough winter, but they didn't make it. So benches, I love putting benches and seating areas in my gardens, and I have them throughout in every single area that I have. I have front and in my rose cottage garden and in my secret cottage garden. I grow vegetables even in this. We have some cool temperatures and the short growing season. It can be difficult for tomatoes and peppers. We've put in a DIY, I call it my DIY little greenhouse, that I can take the sides off in the summer in the heat, but when it starts to get cold, I can put it back on, and it's working for me for what I wanted it to do, is lengthen my growing season for those crops. And I have tomatoes still, and we're in mid-November, and I get to enjoy tomatoes, which is kind of exciting for me. Also, the cucumber bit the dust, but I got a lot of great cucumbers on that too. So I hope you enjoyed my garden. I tried not to ramble on too long, but come on back anytime, and I'm always giving tours. So thank you, Janie, for this. I've been really enjoying all of these videos, and I'm sure everyone else has too. I'll see you later. Bye.
So thank you so much, Pamela, for sending that video in. I kind of nudged her and told her she had to do it. So thank you. It's just really interesting to see the perspective from somebody who lives up in the mountains like that, and what she can grow and what she has to do to make sure that things will survive her winters and her short growing season. It is my goal to get up there once my foot is healed. I'll probably wait till the spring, but to do a garden tour of Pamela's garden, because I just think it is so incredibly beautiful. So I will link her channel down below, as well as her blog, because her blog is very, very informative, especially if you live in a similar climate that she has. So thank you so much, Pamela. All right, I know this video is getting kind of long. I have 2 more gardens I definitely want to show you all. First one is from Betty. She gardens in North Carolina, Stella, North Carolina. She actually has a newer garden, kind of just like I do. And she has a YouTube channel that she is documenting her journey. She also has an Instagram account that I follow called Simple Southern Flair. I will link them both down below. She sent in a great video talking about the things that work really well in her southern garden and don't work very well. She has heat and humidity during the days and the nights, so it's a little bit different of a challenge, but she seems to be handling it well. So let's watch.
Hey y'all, my name is Betty, and welcome to my Simply Southern Garden. I live and garden in coastal North Carolina, Zone 8A. Thank you so much to Janie for allowing me to share my garden with all of your subscribers today. In this coastal area of North Carolina, we have super rainy springs, hot and humid summers, typically very dry falls, and very mild winters. Our property consists of 1.2 acres, and we have lots of native pine trees, maples, and holly trees. My vision for the garden of lots of hydrangeas, petunias, nepeta, lavender, daylilies, ferns, grasses, sedum, and roses, all in blooms of pink, purple, and white. Plants that like hot, humid weather do great for us. Some of the things that I struggle with here in North Carolina are fungus and black spot on all the hydrangea leaves. Because of the hot and humid days and nights, different types of fungus attack the leaves and the shrubs of the trees. The second is Japanese beetles. They attack all of our fruit trees and roses. And the third are deer. I mean, lots and lots of deer. So this is a brand new garden to me, and we just moved here a year ago. And these are the things that I'm learning to deal with. But the most challenging one is the soil pH. We have high alkaline soil, so that causes us to have problems with chlorosis, which is an iron deficiency. The past year, we worked really hard on adding in more organic matter, iron, and nutrients back into the soil. We also added drip irrigation to keep water away from the leaves of the hydrangea and to have more consistent moisture to our new plants. We look forward to developing this new property and would love for you to join us on our YouTube channel at Simply Southern Garden. With all these challenges, it is still a beautiful place to live and garden. Thank you for stopping by the garden. Bye, friends.
Betty, thank you so much for showing us your gorgeous property. It is looking so good already, and I'm glad that you're starting with the soil, adding some more organic matter to it. I think that that is the best thing you can do, but things are looking pretty good already. So Betty also is a fantastic Airbnb host. I will link her website down below as well. Her Airbnbs are all located in the North Carolina area. So if you all are planning to head out there for vacation, make sure you check out her Airbnbs. Just watching her and looking at her Instagram, you can tell that it's going to be a good place to stay. So if I'm ever in North Carolina, I think I will definitely stay in one of Betty's Airbnbs. So thank you so much for submitting, Betty. Your garden is beautiful. Last but not least, we have Destry. Destry gardens out of Oregon, Zone 8B, and this is Eugene, Oregon. She also has a YouTube channel called Oregon Yardening, and I just love that because you've basically made a new verb, yardening, gardening in your yard, and that's just perfect, Destry. I love it. So she filmed her video now at this time, but what I want to do is I'm going to link another video that she had of an August garden tour where her garden was a little bit more alive and a little bit more in season. So make sure you check out that garden tour as well because it is really beautiful. Okay, so let's watch her current garden tour right now.
Hey Janie, it's Destry. I like to hang out here in my yard in Zone 8B in Eugene, Oregon. It's cold and rainy in the Pacific Northwest right now, but let me show you a couple things around my yard that are showing some beautiful fall color and a couple things I'm a little bit proud of. All right, Janie, can you see some similarities between our garden spaces? Not only do I have a really beautiful tutor back there, but I have my Vigo garden beds. I had to laugh when you installed your Vigo garden beds because I got the same color. I actually put these up and installed these in the spring of this year, and they have been awesome. Right now, I have them planted up with some really beautiful evergreen interest, some heucheras and heucherellas. I've got some pansies and some hellebores, and just things that will withstand, the cold here in Oregon right now. I have to say these beds have been just so awesome. A few flowers are starting to fade, but I still have some beautiful autumnal color in this bed. And then over here, this bed doesn't look like much, but it will be filled with spring bulbs. So I'm so excited to see how the garden beds will look this spring with some beautiful color. Over here, my Japanese maple is putting on quite the show for me. And I just love this beautiful red pop of color that it adds here in my landscape. Let me show you a couple other areas of my yard today. So my limelight hydrangeas have a little bit faded. They've gotten a little bit of damage from all the rain, but check out my Japanese maple here. It is, again, just putting on a beautiful fall show for me. And around this corner, I have my bigger garden area, which is my veggie garden. So the black containers are all my strawberries, And then I do have quite a bit of veggies planted up for the fall and winter. Over here, I've got garlic. This is cabbage here. And then in the further bed down here, I have my broccoli patch. So I'm super excited to have some onions and broccoli here. And then also I am growing the garlic for the first time this season. So right now my greenhouse is winterized. We have insulation around it and we have it tarped up. And I do have a heater in here that keeps my greenhouse from freezing in the winter. But let me just give you a quick tour in here. So you can see I've got lots of different houseplants and things that I am overwintering because you know what happens in the greenhouse stays in the greenhouse. So I also have this little seating area right here, which I can come out here and sit and have my coffee or have another plant lover friend come over and hang out with me. So this is my greenhouse and I just wanted to share that with you today. In my front yard, these are my blueberry patch, and you can see the beautiful fall color that the blueberries turn, and of course they're delicious the rest of the year. Over here, another Japanese maple, which has lost some of its leaves, but you can see the beautiful fall color here. And then over here in my front walkway, I've got a few of the Magic Ball arborvitae from Proven Winners. And then my entry is still looking very nice for fall. I have my little topiaries there and my pumpkins still, but I'm excited to transition this area to Christmas decor as soon as possible. So Janie, when you lived in your old property, you took on your side yard that kind of faced the street, and you really inspired me to do the same. This area has taken on a big transformation this year. I've planted up some fruit trees, some hydrangeas, some roses, lots of evergreen, or not evergreens, but lots of perennials. And you really inspired me to get out here and, you know, try to make this area that faces the road more beautiful. Thanks for hanging out in my yard with me today, Janie. I hope that you enjoyed checking out my garden space. I just want to say a huge thank you for all of your videos and inspiration that you've given me in the past several months. I hope that your foot heals quickly, and I can't wait to see what else you do with your new property. I'll see you later. Bye.
It's good, right? Destry, your garden is beautiful. Your greenhouse is amazing. I love it so much. So again, I will link Destry's YouTube channel, Oregon Gardening, in the description down below. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And thank you for supporting me and getting one of my hats. I really appreciate you supporting my channel, Destry. So everyone, that is gonna be it for Zone 8. I'm sorry if this video was a little bit long, and I'm sorry if I didn't include your garden. I enjoyed looking at all of them, and I am saving all of them on my computer so that when I do another video like this, I will have them as well. Zone 8 is interesting. It's very varied, right? We have the Pacific Northwest, we have the South, we have the Deep South, and then all the way over to England. So it's so interesting. And now with the new news of everyone's gardening zone might be changing a little bit, you know, it's a lot's going on in the gardening world. So I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.